So, good evening once again. Um, we are starting with the PHP class, and the last time that we met, we talked about the introduction or a little thing about PHP, where and how we can save our PHP document, and how we can even open it in a browser for it to run, for us to see. And we talked basically about um, how to display information on the web page. That's using echo and print. We came to realize that we can use echo and print to display information on the web page. For today, we'll be talking about variables. We'll be talking about variables. Um, we're talking about variables and a little thing about data types. Data types. So when we talk of a variable, I can simply put it that a variable is a container in which we store a particular type of information. That's the general knowledge. A container that we can store information inside, or a particular type of information. Type of information. So a particular type of information, you'll be not talking about the types of information, but you'll be talking about the one that are acceptable or that is acceptable by PHP. We have different forms of or types of information or data. Um, we have different types of data or types of information that can be accepted by PHP. So let's quickly move to the types of information that can be accepted by PHP. So that will lead us to something that we call the data type or the data types. So for PHP, it accepts few types of information. That is the string, integer. Then we have the floating point, boolean, array, object, null, and then we have the resource. A resource. So let's try to talk. You move along creation of variables, then you attach the data types to it and how they look like. For PHP, it's a loosely typed language. As compared to different types of programming language that we have, you have to specify the data type before you can use it as a variable. So for example, let's use other programming language. So for the other programming language, you have to state that maybe I want to create a variable with the type integer. So integer will use int. Then the name of the variable that you want to create. So let's say A. So with this, we've created a variable that will store only integers called A. So this is for other programming language. So when it's something like this, you say that it's a strictly typed language. Strictly typed language. And for PHP, We just use the dollar sign, then the name of the variable that you want to create, just like this. So the information that you store inside will determine whether it is an integer, string, resource, float, or boolean. So this type a loosely typed language. Please hope you understand.
Yes, sir.
So in creating a variable in PHP, we use the dollar sign, then the name of the variable that you want to create. So let's quickly see how we can name our variable. How we can name our variable. So in PHP, we can use short um, characters, and we can also use long or a lengthy character in variable name. So I can create a variable using this dollar and use only A as the variable name. And I can also create a variable, then I'll give it a long name or a lengthy name, something like say name, like this. So this single text is accepted, and this too is also accepted in PHP. So how do we then name a variable? In PHP, as we already know, variable starts with this dollar sign. That's one. It's always starts with dollar sign. And the name of the variable that you want to create can only start with a letter, that is from A to Z, or um, an underscore like this. So you can use character A to Z, either being lowercase or uppercase, A to Z, or you can use the underscore. So only these two are accepted to start. Then after starting from A to Z and then or the underscore, you can then continue with the A to Z, whether being small or Z, or an underscore. Then you can include numbers 0 to 9. Like, please hope you understand.
Yes.
So let's look at something. Let's try create something like this. We are creating a variable, so we can use the dollar sign, then underscore. Let's say the age like this. Then you add 0 9. So this is accepted in PHP. This type of naming is accepted. Or we can do something like this. Age, then you leave it like this, or age 0 9. This too is accepted. Let's look at this another scenario. When I create a variable using the same age, and I create another variable with the same name, this time around, age. Let me increase it. These two variables are different. This age is different from this age because it contains an uppercase at the beginning, and this one is a lowercase. So these two are different things altogether. Please hope you understand.
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm coming to type some series of variable names, and we will try to identify if they are valid or not valid. I'm trying to enter some. So Okay, so taking this for example, let's try to, is the first one valid or not?
Valid.
The first one,
Yes. Valid.
valid.
Yes, sir.
So what of the second one?
Eh,
Not valid.
Not
Valid.
The second one
It's not valid.
The
is
second
not
one,
valid.
not valid.
Valid.
Not
not
valid.
valid because
Not
of
valid.
Out of the third one
valid.
Valid.
and the last one.
Valid.
Valid.
So let's look at something. The first one is not valid simply because it begins with a number. And the rules say that it can only start with letter A to Z, either lowercase or uppercase, then an underscore. After it, that it can contain numbers. So it's therefore it's
Okay.
this one invalid, and the second one
Okay.
too invalid. So the third one and the fourth one is the valid variable name here. Please hope you got.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's go to our PHP code, then let's try to implement the variable name in conjunction with the data types. How we can see whether this is of a string, integer, float, or so. Let me create a new file and let me save it. So that we can save it inside our local host. That's the XAMPP at and we created a folder for our tutorials called PHP tutorials folder. So I will name this one variables dot php like this. So in order for us to see whether it's working or not, let's first turn on our XAMPP control. So for this tutorial, we may need only the Apache because we are not including MySQL. So we need only the Apache. Um, let's open a new, so localhost, then my tutorials. I don't know if I did tutorials or, yeah, tutorials, then variables dot php. Okay. I have error because of the naming. Let me say it again. Okay, it's PHP rather, not mine. It's PHP rather. So PHP. Okay, so this is the page. We have nothing inside. That's why you see an empty or a blank page. So let's try to add something. So from our previous lesson, we saw that we can begin by typing the less than, then question mark, then we type PHP like this. Then we bring question mark again, then greater than sign. So in between the PHP and then the second question mark is where you type our PHP codes. So let's try creating a string. Okay, so let's create a variable. So dollar sign, then you can give this one maybe a string, or you can give it any name which is accepted. So maybe string, that's the name of the variable that I've created. So string is a series of characters. or string accepts series of characters. So string is equal to. So you can use double quote or single quote. I don't know if you get me.
Yes, sir.
You can use double quote or single quote. Then you type the information that you want to put inside or you want to store inside. So maybe hello world like this. Then you end it with a semicolon. So string is a sequence of characters. Like so we can include space and any other special character in this string and it will display for us. So let's try to display this string. So we came out that we can use the echo, then we call our variable name here. So string like this, then semicolon. We save, then move to our browser. We can refresh and we have hello world here. I don't know if you've gotten it. So this is an example
All
of
right, sir. Sir,
hello.
Please.
for me,
Yes,
I
please.
got the how do you call it? The course inside just like that.
You got the codes inside just like that. Please
Uh,
share your screen and let's see. Okay. The last time you were not around, that's why
yeah,
everything
and
is
this is the course.
yeah, everything is perfect. And I've seen that you've turned on your ZAMP. So
Yes.
look at something. Let's move to the browser. Don't move to the course. The browser, rather.
Ah,
Okay.
okay. Okay.
Okay. So from the last time, we saw that starting from the C to XAMPP and htdocs is what we refer to as the local host. So take from C up to the htdocs and type local host. Then enter.
All right. All
So
right. Okay, sir. Thank you.
let me share my screen again. Okay. So I want to create another string with the same name string, but
Hello.
this time I'll begin with capital S string. So I'll give this one, this is this is the second string like this. Then I'll end it with a semicolon. So we want to see that this is different from this. We want to see. So let's save this, then move to the browser, refresh. So you see that we have hello world, which is the first string that we created. So when we come to the echo and we change it from small s to capital S, and let's save it, refresh, and you can see that we have, this is the second string. So this simply tells us that this first one, first variable name, is different from the second one. So,
And please, I have a question.
okay, you can ask.
Please, you said that we should use when we are writing variable, we should use the the, the dollar sign, right?
Yes.
But when you are starting right, yeah, but when you are starting right, when you start writing these variables, you use the greater than and greater than less than, including question mark and PHP. Why?
Um, from the explanation, I said whenever we want
Yeah,
to declare a variable, we use this dollar sign to declare a variable. So this dollar sign tells the server that we are creating a variable, but variable name, so the dollar sign followed by the variable name. So the name of the variable, that it has to do with this. So the name of the variable can begin with a letter from A to Z, then or an underscore only. After starting from A to Z or an underscore, then you can add the numbers 0 to 9 to it. I don't know if
but you see that when you are writing a variable, you start with question mark PHP. Uh-huh.
it's not a variable. The less than
Okay,
question,
but then
um, let's look at
yeah,
something.
the top number one.
Have you seen that in HTML?
Yeah.
Whenever we want to start with an HTML page, we have something that we call the
Okay.
basic structure. So we begin with the
Okay.
type HTML or something like this. Have you seen?
Yeah.
Whenever we want to start an HTML page, we begin with something like this. Then inside the body, we can type anything that we want, or we can add tags to form the web page. It's the same as PHP. Whenever we want to declare a certain code or a certain piece of script as a PHP script, we put them inside less than question mark PHP and then question mark greater than, like this.
Okay.
So from the last meeting, you said that
Okay.
we can
Right.
even add PHP codes inside a HTML by simply adding the, let's say, the basic structure of a PHP like this. Then we can input the information inside here. So when it is rendering and it's reached this part, it will take it as a PHP script. So within this inside, you can't type anything like that and go scot-free. Unlike the HTML page where you can just type anything and it will render for you. But with the PHP, when I begin to type anything like this and save it, the PHP wouldn't understand what I was trying to say, so it will pop up error. So you can see that the use of undefined constant, then it's giving me the word that I wrote, and say this will throw an error in the future version of. Please, have you seen?
Yeah.
So before we can start, we have to include this less than question mark PHP. Then we close it with question mark greater than. Then inside we can add the PHP codes.
Okay.
So in order
And
for this to run, we have to put them inside this. Otherwise, it will render it as an HTML content. So let me take this
so
one off. Let me take this one off and let me save it. So refresh. So you see that it has rendered it as an HTML content. I don't know if you've seen it. It will render it as an
Yes.
HTML, but not PHP.
okay.
So we use the less than question mark PHP, then the question mark greater than to specify that this is a PHP code.
And for the semicolon, is it necessary to use it always?
Yes, it's very necessary to use the semicolon. Let me try to,
Always.
whenever you are ending a statement. So supposing, let me take this one off and let me save this. Let me refresh again. So you can see that it's giving me syntax error, unexpected string t variable. I don't know. Are you seeing on line 4?
No.
When we move to our page on line 4, you see that we're missing a semicolon. So whenever we are ending the statement, we have to end it with a semicolon. So you can see that I ended this statement with a semicolon, and I ended this one with a semicolon, and also this with a semicolon. So with this, I can even join them together, and it will still render. It will know that this one starts from this place and ends at this place, and the next one begins from this place up to this place.
No.
Please hope you understand.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now let's move to the data type integer. So let me comment this. Let's move to the integer data type. So I'll create a new variable. Let me call this one int or integer. And when we talk about integer, integer is the positive and negative whole numbers. Positive and negative whole numbers. So meaning we can have -1, 2, 3, 4, but we can't include a fraction or a decimal point. So float does not accept something like 1.9. No, it's not the work of an integer. So integer accepts only positive and negative numbers, like 1 or -1, like this. Please hope you understand.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so an integer can be in different base. So it can be in base 10, base 16, and the rest, or binary. It can be in that this thing. So um, let's look at something. For example, let's try to create an integer variable. Let's try to create an integer variable. Okay, an integer, then let me end this, the semicolon. We have a function that is an inbuilt function in PHP called the var_dam. So the var_dam returns the data type. It returns the data type. So we want to know the data type of this integer variable that we've created. So we will just insert the variable name here, like this. Then we end it with a semicolon. So let's save this. Then try to refresh. So you see that we have int. So it's of integer type. I don't know if you've seen it. It returns the integer and then the value. So integer, then we have the value of -1. Let me try to take this one off. So it returns integer and a value of -1. So with this integer, we can perform operations with it, either by adding them by addition, subtraction. We'll get to that So this is an integer. And we have the float. So we use the float. We use the float to accept decimals and fractions. So float accepts something like 00 or 0.002. Float accepts this type. So let me comment this one and let's move on with the float. So if you have any fraction or of that or anything of that sort, you can use the float type. But in PHP, we just use the dollar sign to declare. But based on the information given to the stored in it, it will pick the data type. But with different programming language, you have to specify that maybe I'm creating a float variable. So let's try to use the var dump again to display the type. So var dump, then let's insert float inside and let's end it. So let's refresh. So we have float. So in HTML, we can say a variable is similar to the name that we gave to the input when we are creating the form. It's very similar to it. That's for the float. And we have the Boolean. So the Boolean represents only two states. So it's either true or false. So if you have two states or we want to declare a variable as a Boolean, we have to give it only a two states. So val bool, then let me set it to maybe true. So this bool becomes, the variable bool becomes a Boolean. It becomes a Boolean. So it can be turned to true or you can turn it to false. And turn it to true or false. Sorry.
Make it false.
Yeah, thanks. So you can do it like true or false. So it's based on you. So you can decide if it is true, maybe do this, or if it is false, do this.
All right.
So it's
So
often used in
why do you comment on them? Will it conflict?
No, it will display as well. That's why. Um,
Okay. Let's move on. Let's move on.
let me see. So it will show this is a second string, integer, then float.
Okay.
I want us to concentrate on the current one. That's why I try to comment them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm following.
Okay. So let's move to the different type, which is the array. So we've talked about string, integer, float, boolean. Then let's talk about the array. Array is a whole topic on its own, which we will discuss. But for the data type sake, I'll try to demonstrate a simple example on how we can declare a variable as an array, and then we move on. But in next tutorial, we will discuss how we can learn or how we can deal with the array.
Sir,
Hello.
sir, less than 1 minute remaining. Are we coming back again?
No. Mr. James said we should close.
Sir James, are you come to do the Mobry something or
Okay.
today too? When are you coming?